Don and I did not have an opportunity to do a Pearls of Liberty video this weekend because we were away at a family funeral. I know Don has some important things to say, and he may get to that, but once the week starts, it's usually too busy for him. But the weekend with family gave me an opportunity to think about some things. I sent my son a text. He wasn't able to go to the memorial service. And at one point over the weekend, I sent him a text that said, "The family is all that matters, Loretta." I know that now. It's a line from Moonstruck. And a lot of us are busy. We move away. We become occupied with other things, and we don't, I won't say we lose touch with family, but we don't get to see them as much or spend as much time with them. It gave me pause, realizing the value of family, to think about how much God values people. I was trying to think of some scriptural examples, but it's such a given that Scripture doesn't make a big deal of it. In the world where we live now, sometimes fish, smell, owls, whatever, are valued more highly than people, and that is so backward in God's economy. We should be good stewards. I'm not saying that it's without value. One scriptural example I did think of was Jesus cursed the fig tree and it withered. That tree its value was in serving him. Its value was in producing fruit for people to eat. It didn't have an intrinsic value. Yes, it's part of creation. We need to steward creation. We need to care for God's world. But, and I don't really disagree either with the Native American stance that all living things have a value. I believe they do, but in Jesus' approach at that moment, that fig tree's value was tied to whether it could serve him or not, and it didn't. And then he told it to wither, and it withered. He did not do anything like that with people. He raised people from the dead. He rebuked them. He rebuked the Pharisees and some others strongly. But he did not curse them. And there's an Old Testament scripture, I think it's in Isaiah, that's about Jesus, that says, a bent reed will he not break off, and a smoldering wick will he not extinguish. And I think with people, I think that, to me, that means he doesn't give up on people because of the tremendous value that people have. Rick Joyner has written about experiences that he's had in heaven, and people are so very highly valued by God, and not in the way that we tend to value people. There were people in heaven, according to Rick, on some of the great thrones, the places of very high honor, who were grandmothers who had faithfully prayed for their grandchildren. Our value system is so skewed compared to his. And, if you're not a Christian, who cares, right? This doesn't apply to you. But if you think that you're a Christian, if you try to live a Christian life, believe you're a Christian, maybe you're churchian, whatever, I don't know. That's my new phrase, is churchian, because I think that some of us, God said, don't take my name in vain. And sometimes when we say that we're Christians, which, Christ means anointed one, we're kind of claiming to be anointed, and if we're not anointed, I think we're taking his name in vain. But, whole different subject. People are valued. When God really wanted to honor someone, for instance, in the book of Luke, the 11th chapter, the whole idea of being a good steward, the people, they were given some money too, but the reward was they were given to rule over cities. And cities have value before God, not because of money. Cities have value before God because of people. And one example I want to give is how skewed we've become. A few years ago, I was working at a small ad agency, and I met with a lady about some work that she was thinking of having us do. And she was, just as a kind of a side conversation, she was telling me about a magazine that she was starting about, I think it was green construction. Green meaning, preserve the environment. So we started to have a little conversation about, well, what does conservation really mean? What is green really? What is sustainable really? And I told her that I had heard a statistic that when DDT was banned, in that year, 8 million people died of malaria. Now, I'm not advocating DDT. We need to find natural alternatives to things like that for the good of people as well as the environment, because long-term DDT is not good for people. But DDT was banned. 8 million people died of malaria who would not have died had the DDT been used. And I shared that information with the girl I was talking to. And she said, "Oh, but DDT kills birds." And I said, 8 million people. So, birds, right? Birds. 8 million people. And she just had a look on her face like, I know she couldn't process that information. It was, like the old Three Stooges, I'm trying to think, but nothing happens. She was a bright woman, but she's so brainwashed by the whole idea that we need to preserve the environment. The environment's what's important. People are what is important. Love one another.